Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you from the WELT studios in Fort Wayne. We had IndyCar Content Days this week. Some small news nuggets to pull out of it. Nothing earth-shattering. We have another driver announcement, just one full-time seat left on the grid. And we'll dive in a lot more to what's happening with the Fox TV deal. We've got a lot of more exciting announcements going along with that just in the last several days. Before we get rolling, though, first off, hi, Justin.
Hello, Caleb.
How are we?
We're doing well. We're in the doldrums of winter here.
And it's about to get a lot worse. Did you look at the forecast for Monday of next week?
I saw...
the high was like, what, 5?
Yeah, and the wind chill's supposed to be like minus 25 during the day on Monday and Tuesday. So, yeah, people are counting down to May. We're just counting down to whenever it stops being freezing. But it goes with the territory, right?
Yes. And
Indiana,
it goes
January,
faster. January and February are brutal, but I actually think March is worse because it's still usually pretty cold and it's rainy or muddy the whole month.
Right. I mean, that's the good thing with it being cold and everything's frozen. So when you're walking, you're not you're stepping in mud all over the place. That's the one bonus. But I just always struggle January, February. Once you get into March, IndyCar starts and
March Madness.
Yeah, March Madness. There's something going on. But other than the NFL playoffs, if you're into football or the national championship game coming up on Monday in college football, there's not much to look forward to. But we will try our best to keep you entertained here as we make it through January and February heading into the season opener in St. Pete.
So as we record on Thursday, January 16th, the latest and greatest news in IndyCar, we start things off. Dale Coyne has only one seat remaining. This is unbelievable.
How about that? Well in advance of the
I think we're all kind of pining in a weird way for the olden days where it was week of the race and you had 2 TBAs.
Right. There was something endearing about that.
Yes, yeah. But this is obviously a lot better for the team and the program as we get confirmation. Jacob Abel, one of the people we kind of had our eye on as far as landing a full-time seat and Coyne a possibility. He will be in the 51 entry, running the full season. So we had talked about, a best-case scenario for Coyne. We thought Rinus VeeKay, Romain Grosjean, and Jacob Abel, maybe split, and then Abel running a third entry in the 500. Well, we learned last week, right after we recorded, Prema had their team announcement, and Grosjean is the reserve driver. Who would have guessed that is the factor?
It's kind of weird. Well, it's a European team. They love those reserve driver, test driver things, and it's basically if anything happens to the first 2 drivers, Romain Grosjean's first man up.
So Jacob Abel gets the nod in one of the entries, and Marshall Pruitt saying expect the other entry to be confirmed middle to late January. So we got one of them, obviously. But for both entries, and Pruitt says in the Racer.com mailbag, keep an eye out for Rinus VeeKay as far as the other entry, and I think that would be a very solid lineup. You look at what Abel did in lights last season. I think he had a really solid year, and I think he was obviously deserving of moving up. He had 3 wins, a handful of podiums, second in the point standings. I don't know what more you could ask for as far as a rookie moving up into IndyCar.
Outside of a championship, he did everything he needed to do a year ago. Multiple wins, as you mentioned. The only season in which he got wins. Had done 3 full-time seasons in Indy Lights, all with Abel Motorsports. It was basically move up or find something else in terms of racing, at least to continue. So he moves up and will be a true rookie. Has never raced in an IndyCar race. So it will be very much a learning experience for Jacob Abel this season. That's why you hope that teammate of his would be like a Rinus VeeKay that brings a veteran presence that can lead the way. So Jacob Abel is a promising prospect, and you never know who the next big thing is that's going to start at Coyne and move up, and Jacob Abel is going to be the latest to try to do that.
First test set for the end of the month at the Thermal Club, according to Racer. The other thing you keep in mind with this, and I haven't seen this mentioned because, well, they just made the announcement a couple days ago. I don't know where this stands, but remember Abel was trying to have an entry in the Indy 500. Does that mean Coyne will have a third car for the Indy 500 with this announcement?
Very well could be. Just time will tell to see. But Jacob Abel was able to put enough of a financial package together. It helps, of course, with his dad, who financed Abel Motorsports and continues to direct that. So it's definitely an influx of cash. Coyne's still looking for an investor or multiple investors for a cash infusion in that team. But Abel was able to put a good enough financial package together to secure that seat full time too. This is not he's got enough money for 5 races and then we'll see what happens, or ovals only or road courses only. This is the entire season for Jacob Abel, and you hope that teammate of his, that second car, is the same case. Yeah,
you definitely want an experienced teammate, which I was thinking Rinus VeeKay being an experienced driver. Isn't that hard to believe? But that's where we're
wild.
At. He's been in the series for what? This will be his 6th full-time season?
I know. It feels just insane that it's this long. But yeah, he's very much a seasoned vet and a race winner too, which will be very valuable if Coyne can secure his services.
So Abel and Robert Schwartzman will compete for the IndyCar Rookie of the Year. I don't think we're expecting any other full-time
Is that all we got?
rookies.
Only 2 true rookies.
Oh, wait, no. Louis Foster.
Yeah,
I always forget about
Foster.
him.
So 3 rookies that we will have in the series, which seems low.
It does. It does.
We'll have to do some research, see.
Abel had a good test with Ganassi the other month, and I think that really set him up well in terms of getting this full-time seat.
And it really shows, too, that having a good test with a team doesn't necessarily mean you're going to secure a spot with that team. It's opening eyes around the paddock. That's why you take any opportunity to get seat time. Of course, Jacob Abel's not going to turn down Chip Ganassi, but anytime, if Ed Carpenter wants to put somebody in a seat for a test, you do it because you may not have a future at Carpenter, at least an immediate future, but there are 9, 10 other teams that are eyeing you as well, potentially for immediate services or down the road. So you have a good test with any team in IndyCar, it can pay dividends with anybody in the paddock.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll patiently wait and see who Coyne has for the other full-time seat. And could you imagine if we get to the end of this month and the grid is full? I would be surprised, but that's where we're at right now.
I think we're trending in that direction. At the very least, we should have several weeks before the start of the season in which the grid is full at this point. And we're hearing that second seat could be filled by the end of the month.
Yeah, so it's moving pretty quickly, and congrats to Jacob Abel. Obviously, it's going to be an interesting rookie campaign. He's also the 32nd driver, car and driver combo, obviously waiting on the next Coyne entry to officially get us to 33, but I think we're obviously well on our way to that.
And any time that the ladder works, I know technically they're not calling it the ladder anymore, or the road to Indy, whatever. It worked with Jacob Abel. F2000, multiple years in Indy Pro 2000, never won Indy Pro 2000. In fact, his high finish was 6th in a season in 2021, then moved up to Indy Lights, 3 years in Indy Lights, never did win Indy Lights championship, but won multiple races last year and gets the opportunity to move up. Yes, it was very much helped by the fact that his dad owned a team, because he raced for his dad in F2000 and Indy Pro 2000 and, of course, Indy Lights. But the plan worked in the sense that he worked his way up through the junior formulas, impressed enough to get a full-time ride in IndyCar. When we talk so much about a backlog of guys that aren't able to break through to get into the series through the ladder, anytime we can have this happen, it's good. We like European talent. We like talent coming from all over the place. But when the ladder works as it's supposed to, it's always very, very encouraging.
And then elsewhere, so we talked about Prima in terms of other Indy 500 news and IndyCar season news. So Ryan Briscoe, going to be the sporting director, former IndyCar driver. He drove for Prima actually between 2000 and 2003, won multiple titles per Trackside Online. including the 2003 Formula 3 Euro Series. And then the other interesting nugget is that I saw this, and apparently Grosjean is hoping to do the Indy 500 in a third car with Prema, that per Jenna Fryer, which we thought Chevy was full, right?
Yeah. Now, did she say with Prema or just trying to do in an extra car, or trying to do the 500?
She did not specifically say with Prema.
Okay.
So that's the other factor.
Seems like a lot for Prema to do to add an extra car in their first full season for the 500, but who knows? I mean, everything that Prema has done so far has been first class. I mean, their reveal was exceptional. We've seen McLaren do productions like this. It's regular in Formula One, but it was really cool to see Will Buxton host, and we'll get more Will Buxton news later. But it was a pretty cool production, and Prema is full steam ahead. We'll see if they have their 2 full-time drivers or maybe a third trying to make the 500 in May.
And then the other bit of news or rumor in terms of the driver front, Tony Donahue had this rumor that Tom Brady, who we'll get to more on him in a bit, but Tom Brady and Jimmy Johnson are linking up with Chip Ganassi Racing for a 4th Indy 500 entry, not for Jimmy Johnson, but for Sebastian Bourdais. We'll see if this rumor comes to fruition.
Seems a little out of left field.
It does. So,
but we know that Ganassi has extra cars.
Yes, and obviously Bourdais ran sports cars with Ganassi previously, so it would make sense, and it would mark, the first time that Bourdais had a first-class ride for the Indy 500. I mean, no offense to the other teams, but Chip Ganassi Racing is obviously one of the 2 best teams in the sport.
Now, what's the connection? Has Jimmy Johnson and Bourdais done some events together in terms of endurance racing? Or
I think so. Yeah. I would guess that would be the connection.
That's about that. I'm like, what's the connection with those 3? So that kind of makes sense. But we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. That would be intriguing and add yet another entry to the 500.
And Carvana would be the sponsor for this entry. Obviously makes sense because of Jimmy's connection with Carvana as well. So that's a look at the driver front. Meanwhile, on the TV front, we got a ton of confirmations. Nothing really too surprising this week. All good news, though. Will Buxton confirmed to do play-by-play. James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell also back in the booth for Fox. Pit reporters will be announced at a later date. So we have the lead talent announced. We have that Fox is going to use drones, which outside of the Indy 500, NBC did not really use. And then also, Visor Cam is back. It's going to be the same one that's used for F1 and NASCAR. So IndyCar will get a Visor Cam back. About time for that.
Right.
What else? Oh, of course, the promo, which aired during the Eagles-Packers playoff game. And I first, before we even get to the numbers in terms of the TV rating for that game, which was massive, this was an outstanding promo. You had a cameo by Tom Brady. You had Alex Palou saying, "My kid hated it," about Josef Newgarden's book. I mean, this was outstanding stuff by Fox.
It was very much just an absolute home run by Fox. And just quick, witty, not taking itself too seriously, calling attention to Josef Newgarden's hot wife. Like, why not, right? This is his life, shows his wife, shows his Tuesday. Like, it was
a note about his jawline,
right? Yeah, and that's what brought in Tom Brady. It just gives up milk at 2, took it back up at 32 when he won his first Indianapolis 500. I mean, it was everything that we hoped to see from Fox and what we had hoped to see from previous partners in media. And it's just Fox knows. Who knows if this leads to a groundswell of ratings, but it is a great first step. There's a couple more that are set to come out over the course of the NFL playoffs for Alex Palou and Pato Award.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was, in terms of marketing your stars, which we've always said, and we're not the only ones, that IndyCar has done a horrible job, and IndyCar TV partners have done a horrible job. This was 1,000% what the series needed and what it continues to need to call attention to its stars.
And the focus was on the driver, not on the Indy 500, not on the series. It was singularly focused on the driver and making Josef Newgarden a star. Look, Josef Newgarden is a good-looking dude, right? He's won back-to-back Indy 500s. Right. All the pieces are in place to make him a star. People just need to know about him. It's pretty simple.
And when you put that on during a game with 35 million people watching, or whatever the rating was.
35.9 million viewers. And that's
and
not
NFL
including...
Fox tweets it out?
And they have, nearly 5 million followers on Twitter. And the video itself, just on Twitter alone, was well over 1 million views. I'm not sure what it's at now. So you're talking massive numbers, massive reach. It was in the third quarter of that game. So you're maybe not getting the peak audience in terms of right at the beginning, or if it's a close game, right at the end. But this is about as good as you can ask for in terms of Fox. And look, expect another new one, I would assume, this weekend for the divisional round.
Right.
And another for the NFC Championship. And I
probably at least one for the Super Bowl.
I would think the Super Bowl would be maybe just an IndyCar promo.
IndyCar or an Indy 500.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I think the biggest thing, and you kind of hit it that I didn't even think about, is there was not one mention of the Indianapolis 500 in this commercial. And remember we were over the moon when NBC was showing Indy 500 promos during
NFL playoffs. It was like wild card weekend.
And it's like, it's 4 months away. That was great and all, but it's 4 months away. And you need to market your stars. You need to market the series. And I think this commercial checked all those boxes. It was great. It was, like I said, it was witty. It was charming. It was funny. It was, it really profiled your star. Anytime you can get Tom Brady in the mix is a good thing. It was an absolute banger of a first effort by Fox to market the IndyCar series.
And Josef Newgarden said he didn't know Tom Brady would be in the promo until 24 hours before it aired.
I mean, just think, you got sperm swimming, you got a reference to his hot wife, right? You have explosions. I mean, what's not to like? You have, hankerings back to Forrest Gump with the ping pong, I mean, it's just, it was cool. It felt modern. It felt like it catered to people in 2025, not 2001. It was amazing. It was great.
And I love the fact that it moved quickly. It wasn't just him talking in front of the screen.
Yeah,
talking about
IndyCar, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it was kind of putting him in some kind of funny and unique situations, and it moved so quickly, which IndyCar obviously moves quickly. So I like how they did that.
And I think a cool thing, too, is it was an introduction for people that maybe aren't familiar with Josef Newgarden, but it didn't treat people like they were stupid. It wasn't like, hey, this is what the IndyCar series is. One of our drivers is Josef Newgarden. Hey, he won the last 2 Indianapolis 500s. Hey, you should check out IndyCar on it. Like it didn't dumb things down to the point where we looked at it and said, well, this is clearly for new viewers, trying to get new people in. Mega fans of IndyCar like us appreciated it and liked it just as much as, hopefully, potential newbies to the sport. And that's what I like to see. I felt like NBC and even ABC before that really catered too much to trying to bring on new fans and ignoring existing fans. I thought that commercial was perfect to where it made sense to everyone that saw it.
And also, Fox, because they have the entire series, which granted, so did NBC, but Fox doesn't have to just say, we have the Indy 500, because they have consistency on the scheduling front as well. I think that's super helpful in how you promote the series, because everything is unified. It's simple. Every race is on Fox. You don't have to think about channel searching or anything like that, or streaming platforms. It's all centered around Fox.
And that's a huge thing, right? And it's obvious that the push is going to be the fastest racing on earth, whether that's the Defy Everything-esque catchphrase this year. Who knows? But it's simple. It's succinct. It throws it right at you. And it was like I said, it was a great initial foray into promoting the series on television with commercials.
And also it it got highlighted outside of IndyCar and IndyCar Media, Awful Announcing, which is a sports media blog, very popular. They posted a story on this
saying its praises.
It's a great ad featuring Josef Newgarden, and I would say this: Awful Announcing does pick up IndyCar news when it's notable in terms of the media side. So that's big. I mean, they're an account that I think has nearly 360,000 followers,
and basically said this is how you introduce your sport if you're not a well-known series or league. And basically, Awful Announcing was like, this is how you do it. And it was well liked across the board. And even Michael Shank was quoted by Racer, dropping an F-bomb on how excited he was about it. It just seemed like across the board, universally loved that commercial. So can't wait to see the next couple that come out and see if any more are produced as we get closer to the season or into the season, with some other personalities.
And another note on Fox, Will Buxton, there's a great write-up by Nathan Brown of the Indy Star on IndyStar.com talking about Will Buxton taking the job. Basically, Will and Hinch had dinner, and Hinch was like, they're chatting, and apparently Will Buxton's contract was up at F1 TV, and Hinch was like, wait, what? Well,
really?
You should talk to Fox and IndyCar. And Will's like, you think they'd be interested? And Hinch was like, yeah. And they basically set it up, and obviously here we are. And I think people are on the surface who maybe don't know Will Buxton think, oh, he's just an F1 guy. And I understand that, but he's covered IndyCar races in the past with NBC on NBC Sports Network. He's a fan of the Indy 500. He's a fan of the series, has been for a long time. And I also think we're discounting the fact that he brings a younger audience because of F1 TV and Drive to Survive. He's very popular. I'm not going to put on the scale, right, as some of the F1 drivers, but he's very popular because of Drive to Survive. So he brings a cachet in terms of a name to the IndyCar broadcast right away. And obviously the continuity, he already has that with Hinchcliffe, and I'm sure that will be figured out with Townsend Bell. So I just think it's exciting for the broadcast side. I get it's maybe not the route that a lot of people initially thought Fox would go or maybe wanted them to go, but I'm excited about this news, which I know I talked about last week, but I just want to reiterate that.
You're not going to get anybody to tune in because of Will Buxton, but you're going to get people that maybe tune in to IndyCar to check it out and then say, hey, I recognize that guy. Yeah. He's on Drive to Survive. And
just him promoting it on social media
definitely
will get people be like, oh, yeah, I should check out IndyCar.
And so to me, it's a marketing effort in itself to bring on Will Buxton. And I think it gives the series an air of legitimacy to people that know him from Drive to Survive and say, wow, that guy's a big deal in Formula One, and now he's hosting IndyCar races. That must mean this is pretty important. So I think it's a great hire, and I did not know that about Hinchcliffe. That's pretty cool. And
all in the article. So check that out, IndyStar.com.
Pretty sweet. So get the band mostly back together. We'll see in terms of pit talent. Do you expect a Kevin Lee to be part of that? Do you expect what we kind of talked about a little bit about this last week, but who do you expect to be in pit lane? Do you think we'll have 3 regular pit reporters every race outside?
I think we'll have at least 2. Ryan Hunter-Reay wants some sort of a role, whether that's full-time outside the Indy 500, of course, or part-time. Jack Harvey's been mentioned for series formerly known as Indy Lights, and doing some coverage there. Obviously, they'll need talent for the booth for Indy Lights as well. So I think we'll see Kevin Lee with some sort of role. We have no clue. Yeah. I think we'll see something, and I would expect we'll have all the announcements made either by the end of this month or early next month in terms of what the broadcast talent will be. Because, look, we're a month and a half away from the start of the season.
I still would love to have that mechanical / engineer person somewhere, either on pit lane. I've said it before in terms I feel like to a certain extent Hinch and Townsend Bell are repetitive in terms of what they cover, but the banter is great between them. You pointed that out to me. Like, don't forget, the spats that they have going back and forth, and the rapport is already there. So you're already going to start hitting the ground running with the St. Pete race with at least two guys that are comfortable with working with each other. Now, they're not trying to figure out and talk. Well, I'm going to say they don't talk over each other, but they do. That's part of the charm between the two of them. But I think they'll fit in seamlessly with Will Buxton because of their rapport that they have together. I just would love to have, again, I come back to Larry McReynolds and the cutaway car like they used to have with Fox, and really being able to explain different things, with whether it's the weight jacker, whether it's, the wicker and all that stuff, and aero, and just all those things. I feel like
Townsend actually does a really good job with some of that technical stuff.
I think he does too. I think maybe with a specific, a better graphics package, that would really be helped out, because I'm a visual person. So when you're explaining some of that stuff, he can use the granola bar, and switch it over with the chocolate side, and
yes.
But in terms of visualization, I loved the cutaway car, because I'm like, trying to explain dampers to me without really being able to visualize, I'm an idiot. I don't know. I can't picture what you're talking about, but maybe Fox will bring that package together. And so when Townsend or James or whoever is talking about things like that, they can then identify it on something that us simpletons can understand. And
I think something that is lacking is, like you said, though, that crew chief, strategist, whatever perspective. If there's an engineer, someone with an engineering background, that's an element to
would like to see, and maybe this isn't even a personality, but a production thing, is I know F1's budget and Sky Sports, everything is exponentially larger than IndyCar, but the way that they're able to break down pit windows and where they're at and all that stuff. And that kind of strategy is tame in comparison to what happens in IndyCar. And I would love for Fox to be able to capture that drama in a way that visually was able to pass that information on to us normal folk, right? I don't need pit window is anywhere between 46 and 60. Lap 46 and 60, like, okay, that's obvious. I could tell you that based on how long you can go on tires and fuel. But fuel mileages and stuff like that, and who's doing what and what this time means compared to what their fuel mileage, like tangible data that can be used in a graphics package would be amazing. And that's maybe what was missing with NBC. It definitely was what was missing with NBC. And I hope it's not missing with IndyCar, because I feel like even with less going on in Formula One in terms of pit stops and fuel strategy, because there is none, I feel like I know more based on the information that they're able to give. Even like, based on closing speeds and stuff like that, like when a battle for position is going to happen, as you see that in Formula One. But I know, again, the investment financially is exponentially more in productions in Formula One than IndyCar.
Yeah, to put it lightly.
To put it lightly, but I would just like to see a next level of, especially when we have races of strategy A and strategy B and strategy C. I think NBC did an okay job, but it's like we can delve more into that, and I think it would be beneficial to be able to delve deeper in that. And I think it comes back to NBC really not catering to the diehards as much as they were trying to keep things simple for the newbies, where just don't treat people like idiots and we'll figure it out.
And again, because every race is on the same channel, you got to really balance the diehard versus quote unquote casual. I hate the phrase casual fan, but that's right. That's the phrase that is used. You have to balance that.
Do you expect the phrase danger zone to matriculate over to Fox?
It better.
I bet that was in the contract. The
danger zone and hate cauldron. Let that continue.
But it's great to hear Townsend Bell is coming over, especially with the news. Last week losing his two homes in the California wildfires. So that definitely has to be a boost to him, albeit small comparatively to what he lost. But good to see that he's going to continue in IndyCar in a broadcasting capacity.
Absolutely. Well, if you agree or disagree with us, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can always find us on social media, IndyCar Podcast, on Twitter/X, also on Instagram, on Facebook, search for New Track Record. You can email us, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions, comments, rants, what have you. And you can support us via Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. Thanks to Xavier and others for their support. And as always, you can download and listen for free on your favorite podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify, but we're trying to work through some glitches, our vendor change platform. So we hope to be back on Spotify soon. So last week's episode, not up yet. If you missed it, you can catch everything on Apple Podcasts, but we hope to be back up on Spotify or wherever you download and listen to podcasts for free. Okay, mailbag time, Justin. We actually have quite a bit to dive into this week just because of all the different news tidbits that we had in the last week or so. And we start things off, and a lot of people, and rightfully so, had their opinion on the new Fox spot. And
overwhelmingly positive.
Yes, very positive. We'll just rattle through these quickly. I Am Analog said, loved it. Can't wait to see the others. Guessing it'll be Plo and Pato. Yes, that's correct. Poet Shevchenko said, best ad they could have made. I mean that without hyperbole. Funny, fast pace, without being confusing. Tells a pretty good story about the focal driver. Best of all, no nonsensical tagline to be abandoned halfway through the season. So true.
Yes.
Lynn_IndyCar said, good commercial promotion of IndyCar. Hope we get some Will Power and Dixon. Joint commercial of them with clips of Road America 2023. Hey, I bet we'll see that during the season. Hunter's Way 67, got to say, I'm impressed. Let's go Fox. Andy Demansky, love it. Historic hot laps. Anything to help promote is better than what we had, and honestly, they did a nice job with it. Jamin T14, this is why the Fox move is a win. Top-notch promotion and production. Patrick Fagan said, really good commercial. I hate because Joseph is a cheater who got caught. Jay Blasteri said, best IndyCar promo ever? I think so. Polar Ice X said, this is Josef Newgarden who wins, especially when he cheats. And IndyCar Man said, outstanding. So obviously, some people split.
Still, folks, that's fine.
That's fine. Totally fine.
What I think too was important was Fox didn't overthink it or has not overthought it on who they should profile. People saying, well, hopefully Power gets in there and Dixon. They picked the guy that's won the last two Indianapolis 500s. They've picked the guy that won the last two championships, and they picked the most popular driver in the series. Like, don't overthink it. Mm-hmm. And to me, selling Will Power and Scott Dixon is fine, but you're also, how much do you focus, at least initially, on guys that are probably not going to be around 3 years from now? I think they'd like to be.
Yeah, Will Power wants to be around for another 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Dixon has said he doesn't feel like he's going away anytime soon, but you're profiling young drivers and championship drivers or 500 winning drivers. And yeah, Pato may at some point go to F1, but he's the most popular driver in the series, and quite frankly, it's not close. So Fox didn't overthink this in terms of, yes, you have one of the greatest IndyCar drivers of all time in Scott Dixon, but he hasn't won a championship lately. He hasn't won an Indy 500 lately, and he's getting old. So
if you were to pick two more drivers to feature, wouldn't you pick Herta and McLaughlin?
I would pick Herta, would definitely be the next one. And then I think you could go a bunch of different routes. I get McLaughlin.
I mean, McLaughlin, Power, Dixon. I mean, I would love for all of them to be featured because that's your core group of drivers in the series who are winning races, competing for championships, etc.
And you hit the main four teams.
Yeah. Also
top four teams. So I do think if you do a fourth, it has to be Herta. After that, it's up for grabs. You can make a case for Dixon and Power and McLaughlin and all that. But if you're picking three, they got the right three,
yes,
in my opinion.
And then one other comment on the Fox promo, and that Lynn_IndyCar pointed out, and this is funny, but it's true. So at last check, this promo on Twitter has 1.3 million views. And he said, wow, this IndyCar commercial has more viewers than some of the races on NBC Family Networks. At the time, it was over 950,000. That's from freaking marketing. So that's an excellent point that is sad but true. And hopefully we see better numbers moving forward on that. So in terms of streaming, and this is a good update in terms of what to expect if IndyCar just goes with IndyCar Live in terms of the option for a streaming platform. As we detailed last week, Venue shut down. There is a sports bundle for DirecTV that I saw that includes a lot of channels. That's like, what, $40 a month intro for 3 months, but then it goes up to like 60 or 70. At that point, you might as well just pay for a full...
Is that an add-on, or you can just get it by itself?
They're going to get it by itself. Okay. So it's a 3-month promo at $40 a month with DirecTV Stream, and then it goes up to, I think, 60 per month.
Halfway through the season.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. But Vicky Lynn 26 said, IndyCar Live available in Canada. That's how I've watched practice and qualifying the last few years. No races due to the TV deal, network, or TSN Plus. It was $14.99 Canadian dollars a month, which is less than $10 US. May was an extra $10 for all the coverage, not including the 500. Look, if that's the route they go for streaming, that's great, but it doesn't seem like IndyCar's in some sort of urgency to address this, so we'll see what they do moving forward on the streaming element.
It's not a priority, and we said it last week, nor should it be. It's going to screw over some people, for sure, but not the majority of people. And that's just how it is. You have to prioritize things, and I just don't feel like, A, it's much of a priority right now, and B, what you really expect IndyCar to do about it outside of doing an internal IndyCar Live thing, and we really don't know the stipulations of the contract with Fox. Mm-hmm. The fine print may say they can't do that because Fox wants people to have to tune into FS1 and FS2. And I don't blame them for that.
Well, and TV numbers are how you get ratings. That's how teams sell sponsorships, et cetera,
exactly.
Et cetera.
So, and I don't think, and again, that's another thing. Of all the issues or things that the paddock is pushing the series on, I don't think you're going to have the paddock pushing much on this because, like you said, the ratings on television dictate advertising, and the paddock wants as many people watching as possible on television, not streaming.
Some replies on Jacob Abel being confirmed with one full-time IndyCar seat remaining. Bauer Racing said, even in Texas seems way too cold for Dale Coyne Racing driver confirmations. Hey, that's fair. They had snow, right, last week. Lynn_IndyCar saying, gentlemen, with one seat left, Dale needs to have a Survivor-style IndyCar show on Fox to select the final driver. Who will drive the 18? Also said, nice to see Abel get a chance. Nice to see drivers moving up. That would be funny. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I do find it interesting that we're already at one seat left.
It is really cool, and I think a testament to, despite all the discussions about cost and all that stuff, a lot of teams have figured it out well in advance of the season opener. And that's a testament to those teams and kind of maybe a pushback of the series and say, hey, you guys are complaining so much about pricing, yet here you are with, again, what we're going to have 27 full-time cars.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to take those things seriously. I'm not saying they're not facts. I'm just saying it's tough to buy into the immense struggles if we have 27 full-time cars.
Elsewhere on the mailbag, Andretti announced that Chili's will be the primary sponsor for Kyle Kirkwood at St. Pete. And I posted, what's your go-to Chili's order? Hoosier 500 said, got to be their new mozzarella sticks.
They closed our Chili's.
Yeah, right. Well, someone pointed that out. Tyler_Allen. It's too bad the Fort Wayne Chili's literally just closed not long ago. Look, Chili's just got really popular within, the last 6 months or something?
It went to this menu that had a bunch of really cheap deals, like carry out burgers and like chicken sandwiches and stuff like that. And that was after the Fort Wayne location closed. It was right on Coliseum. It wasn't in a bad location. It's been there forever. I've hit it up plenty of times, but
I haven't been to Chili's in a long time. Chili's is really big in Texas. I have not been to the Chili's in a long time, but the chips and salsa never disappoints. Mm-hmm. And I get that that's, I think, complimentary, but it is really good.
And that's just for the first race, the St. Pete race.
Yes.
Correct?
And then Lynn_IndyCar added fajitas and a margarita. Yeah, their fajitas are pretty good as well. Triple Dipper. That's so I know that's what people apparently.
What's the Triple Dipper?
I don't know. I think it's like.
Is it a shake?
I think it's an appetizer.
Oh.
And
like different dips?
I think so. Let's look this up. We're learning. We're clearly not.
We're not
Zoomers
aficionados.
because we would know this otherwise. So it is, you select 3 appetizers and enjoy. So it looks like they have sliders, they have wings. I think they have mozzarella sticks, obviously. So that is apparently the Triple Dipper. Let's see if we can place our order here.
Yeah, let's place our order and see if they have.
I don't think they'll come here. So
what's the closest to Fort Wayne? Is it an Indy? At Chili's? I don't even know.
Good question. So appetizers, you have the Triple Dipper, which is obviously a pick 3. You have bone-in wings, boneless wings, which are chicken nuggets, Southwestern egg rolls, those are pretty good, a dip trio, so queso, white queso, salsa, guac, ranch. Their ranch is good. Fried mozzarella shareables, Nashville hot moz, so it's just like hot mozzarella sticks. Texas cheese fries,
mozzarella sticks?
Yeah, chips and queso, and then the different dips. The skillet beef queso, fresh guac, and white skillet queso.
The menu sounds a heck of a lot better than it was when I last went to Chili.
I agree. I'm really hungry now.
Yeah.
It's almost lunchtime, so that checks out. Moving on, a couple other items in the mailbag. Let's see. I had posted the in-helmet tech. Jeff Cerneski asked, I wonder if they'll use the NASCAR Gopher cam. I'd be for that. Poet Shevchenko said, too much positivity for an IndyCar offseason. Yeah. Well, we had our bad stories. We got those out of the way.
Yeah, hopefully it's full steam ahead.
All positive
heading into
from
the
here on
season.
out. And Lynn_IndyCar, game changer for watching races. Love what I'm seeing with Fox. Yes, we fully agree with that. And with that, I don't think we have a whole lot else with the mailbag. Let me just double check my work.
Retweet. That was one thing that I did retweet on our account. Did you see the recent picture of Auto Club Speedway?
Oh, yeah.
Which is
depressing. The
grandstand is there. Partial front stretch is there. That's about it.
Yeah, it's
not being turned into anything.
No,
it's not. That's not happening in terms of another racetrack. It's not becoming a short track or anything like that. It's done. It's gone.
It is done, and it's sad because it put on one of the best IndyCar races we've ever seen.
Very
Montana
little,
2015.
Very few people saw it in person, but
everyone was there. Let's not kid ourselves.
It's one of those things, right, where everybody said they were there. You know, it kind of grows to 300,000 people saying they saw Babe Ruth call his shot.
Sure you did.
In person.
Oh, I think that does it for the mailbag. Let's move on to news and notes, and we start with all the nuggets from IndyCar Content Days earlier this week, and we got a new logo from Ed Carpenter Racing, kind of shifting from kind of an old school logo. Now it's just a simple ECR and yellow with a black background and then kind of a off blue oval shape around it, like the IMS oval. At first, I will admit, I didn't like it. It is growing on me, though.
Yeah, it's simple. Simple isn't necessarily bad. It's just it'll take some getting used to, I think.
We got a couple number confirmations. David Malukas will run number 4 for AJ Foyt Racing.
They got
in
that
2025.
number back, I see.
Yes. Also, full field test at Sebring is February 17th and 18th per Nathan Brown. The Indy 500 Open Test, April 23rd and 24th. Pato Ward said Mexico talks as far along as they've ever been and said, I want to be very involved. Also said his commercial shoot was like a movie shoot called the Fox Partnership Freaking Phenomenal.
Did you also see the picture of him and Mark?
Yes. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
Don't worry.
I imagine that's a tweet of the week,
yeah,
potentially?
Potentially, yes. You might be onto something right there. Marcus Ericsson He is going to have Bryant as the primary sponsor for St. Pete. So wonder if Delaware Life returns this year. New car is happening in 2027. Alexander Rossi said that to Archie O'Reilly. So positive news. Colton Herta on F1. He said, if F1 happens, it happens great, and then I'll have a decision to make if I'm still wanted. If it doesn't happen, then poor me. I'm stuck racing Indy cars. I'll be all right either way.
Good philosophy, Colton.
Absolutely. Will Power, he's in a contract year with Team Penske. He has new representation. He signed with A14 Management, which is run by Fernando Alonso and Oriol Servia. And again, we mentioned Power wants to go another 5 years. So I think that is fascinating.
I think this is a storyline to watch because we know that Foyt is running Malukas as a potential heir apparent at
Penske.
So depending on the season that Malukas has and depending on the season that Will Power has, do you see a scenario where a 44-year-old Will Power, once the season starts, is racing his last year with Penske this year as a full-timer?
I think there's a chance.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying it's likely.
I think the other factor, one, David Malukas, I think, has a lot of pressure going into the season.
I think,
but also AJ Foyt Racing, I get that they have access with Penske and everything in terms of engineers and engineers' place and all that. Michael Cannon's not there anymore. How's that going to change?
Agreed.
And I get that one man does not make a team, but he certainly made their Indy 500 effort stronger.
Definitely helped. That's for sure. I just, you look at, and here's something too, is Will Power at Indianapolis. The last 3 years, his best finish is 14th in 2020. He hasn't performed at Indianapolis. He won the championship in what, 2021? 2022, I think. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 22. You're right.
I'm just wondering if it's an underperforming season for Will Power, let's say outside of the top 3 in points.
I'd say outside of top 5.
You think?
Yeah.
Let's say outside the top 5 in points, of which is a possibility. He finished 4th last year and 7th 2 years ago, I believe. Is this the last year for Will Power as a full-time driver? I think it's a storyline to watch potentially. I just, Penske isn't a team that really holds on to dudes well into their 40s very much.
Well, I mean, look at what they did with Elio. I mean, they kind of booted him and said, you're going to go to sports cars, we'll let you run the Indy 500, but full-time, nope, you're done.
I just, nothing would surprise me at this point, particularly if David Malukas has a very exceptional season. And I'm not talking about a top 5 finish on points and winning races. I'm saying if he shows the promise that Team Penske thinks he has, and Will Power entering a contract year doesn't perform, and he'll be 45 when the 2026 season starts, I don't know. I think it's something to watch this year.
I think so too. It is a fascinating thing. I mean, what constitutes Malukas having a good enough season to move up? Is it winning a race? Is it top 10, points? Top 12?
I think top 12 in points.
I'd say if you win a race and you're top 12 in points, that's enough promise.
I would agree.
So we'll obviously something to monitor. Will Power wants to run another 5 years. Scott Dixon wants to run for as long as he can. But often for stars, it's not their. I mean, it wasn't even the choice for Elio. If there's anyone who had earned that opportunity,
it would be the three-time winner of the Indianapolis 500.
Yeah.
Or then was it? Yeah, 3 times.
3 times. Yes. Obviously, it will be his choice. I think when he steps away running the Indy 500 at least.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is not a series that has upper 40-year-olds consistently running full time in the series. It's just not. There's too much talent and too much of a focus for every team to find the next big thing that's going to take them the next decade into the future. And Penske is no different. And Penske is as ruthless as anybody other team in terms of, look, if the returns aren't there compared to what it could be with another younger driver, they will not hesitate to make a move no matter what you've done for the team. And as you mentioned, Exhibit A is Helio Castroneves.
Elsewhere in Indy Lights, Tommy Smith, Australian driver, has a major deal with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus, primary partner for the upcoming season with HMD Motorsports.
How about that? Shell on an Indy Lights
big.
car?
That's pretty big.
Full time? That's sweet.
That's absolutely cool. Fox, we talked about Fox promos. So they had the Butler basketball game last Saturday, and Butler did a checkered crowd where you either wear white or black, and had Connor Daly and Jack Harvey there signing autographs, did some promos with IMS. And Fox featured some of this. So again, more promotion for that. We talked about this last week and it ended up being irrelevant because Helio Castroneves will have a guaranteed spot for the Daytona 500. There could be 41 cars for the race if he needs to use it. Now, what's confusing on this is apparently he could race and the team get no prize money if he's the 41st entry.
Which is puzzling.
So it said if the provisional car wins the race and or stage, the car will be credited with the race win. Let's see, where is this? Actually, that's not the right thing. You had sent me this. I forget where it is. But it was basically the team doesn't get the prize winnings and the driver doesn't get the prize winnings if he's the 41st entry.
But it's weird. It's if he qualifies based on speed, there'll be 40 entries. If he doesn't, there's 41. Basically, it's a clause to make sure he gets in the race, which is just weird. It's basically like if the Indianapolis 500 last year did okay. If Kyle Larson qualifies in the 33, then we're fine. If not, we're going to run an extra car to make sure he starts the race. I mean,
I never understand how they do their entries for the race, but whatever. Back to IndyCar, single-day tickets for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg are on sale now. Go to gpstpete.com/tickets to get yours. Again, coming up March 2nd is race day there. Happy 90th birthday to AJ Foyt. That is today. So super text celebrating 90. And some unfortunate news. Joey Barnes, who's been a longtime motorsports writer. He was covering the Chili Bowl. He's with Motorsport. He was informed his position has been eliminated, so we wish Joey the best. Enjoyed his articles covering IndyCar. Hopefully he lands on his feet quickly.
Did they have anybody else writing IndyCar?
I don't think so. And they had just gotten good coverage. I mean, they had David Malsher Lopez for a while. He stepped away. Joey Barnes took over, continued that good coverage. And now it's...
I mean, are they going to go and hire somebody cheaper? Usually, sometimes
that's usually how that works.
IndyCar
or
coverage, who knows? I don't often go to. I only racer I go to every day. I don't go to Motorsport every day. I usually only go to Motorsport when there's an article.
I go about once a week and check. But the thing I found though is when they post an article, you're going to get a lot of good information and nuggets out of it.
Yeah,
it's going to be pretty in depth. It's going to include quotes. They're not posting stuff just to post stuff. So it's unfortunate. Anything that we missed?
I don't think so.
There's a lot to get to, but I feel like we condensed it quite well. All right, tweets of the week, and it's just one tweet, and no surprise.
Spoiled it. I'm sorry.
It is Pato Ward posting a picture with Mark Miles in front of the Pato Who billboard with Mark Miles wearing a Pato Who hat. I mean, it's just absolute perfection.
Oh, just amazing. Love it.
Love it. All right. With that, time now for our random split error driver of the week.
All right. So we're going to the late 90s of the IRL, and a guy that did several seasons. In fact, raced for Chip Ganassi Racing in 2002, Mr. Jeff Ward.
Hey, IRL race winner.
Yes. Actually won at Texas in that 2002 season, but raced multiple years in the IRL for Gallus Racing, Team Cheever, ISM Racing, Pagan Racing, AJ Foyt Racing, Heritage Motorsports, which I've never heard of.
I never heard of them.
Vision Racing as well. Also started, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Indianapolis 500s. Did not make the race in 1995, but started every race from 1997 to 2002, and then also ran a Toyota for Vision Racing in 2005 in the 500. Best finish of second in 1999 for Pagan Racing. Overall, in his career, he did, 61 races over 7 seasons. His only win, that 2002 Boomtown 500 race at Texas, also had 8 podiums and a pair of poles. He was actually a motocross driver.
Yeah, one of the all-time greats, right?
Yeah, he won the AMA Motocross Championship 5 times, the Motocross Day Nations 7 times, and he only turned to auto racing after retiring from motorcycle competition. So he also did some off-road truck racing, some rallycross, inducted into the Motorcycle Hall of Fame in 1999, inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America in August of 2006. His nationality is American, was born in Glasgow, Scotland.
I did not know that.
Me neither. But he had a desire to get into auto racing after motocross, and he raced in the 1993 Indy Lights season and finished 4th at Phoenix, and then a 3rd place a year later at Nazareth, and won the 1997 Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year. Was with that ISM Racing in 1998. Was just very much a guy that was jumped around to multiple teams, but was pretty reliable. And again, did that 2002 season with Chip Ganassi Racing with his one and only victory at Texas Motor Speedway. He had 3 top 5 finishes and 7 starts at the Indianapolis 500. So a storied career. Also won a couple gold medals at the Summer X Games in motocross. 2006 LA gold and 2008 LA gold. So very much a dude that we talk so much about guys coming from different disciplines to the Indianapolis 500. We don't talk very much about motocross drivers or racers coming over and racing in open wheel. Jeff Ward was that, and he is this week's Random Split Era Driver of the Week.
Last saw him, at least on here, racing Stadium Super Trucks in 2021. Did did the races at Nashville and Long Beach. So Jeff Ward, obviously one of the all-time greats in terms of motorcycle racing, but also very good IRL career. All right, that does it for us. For Justin Kinney, I am Caleb Hatch. Thanks for joining us on another edition of New Track Record Podcast.